Hello, good evening. That was sudden. It all ended very suddenly there at the end, didn't it? The music. It's nice to see people joining us this evening for our session on applying research methods to the context of education. So methods in context, really. There were a couple of questions in the chat window about quite what we'd be focusing on today. That's what we're going to be. Hi, Lily. You all right? So I'm joined this evening by Craig and Anna. And hello, and we've got a range of activities to go through. And if you haven't joined us before, you can use the live chat window to have a go at the activities, answer the questions as we go through them. What did you make of the new theme tune? Were you all right with it? It's quite chilled.
We've had that one before at some point, haven't we?
Yeah.
I don't know whether it's when
we have for something.
I don't know whether it's when like John has sat in for you or something.
Maybe.
That I've definitely heard that tune before.
Heard the tune before, yeah. It was.
I think I prefer the old one.
Dear. Oh well, we might
Yeah.
go back to. Oh, Lily liked it. Thanks, Lily. You're right. Okay,
we're gonna.
It was ambient, yeah. So we're going to go to the activities now. Now we were having a few mini technical issues just before we went on, although at least we haven't started with the technical issues this time. But it did occur to me that since we kind of rebooted, I didn't check the PowerPoint was working, but hopefully it's going to be seamless. There we go, seamless. Perfect.
There you go.
Okay.
Perfect. Yeah.
All right. So we're going to go to our first activity. I'm going to hand over to Craig for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Okay, thank you. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. It's kind of an old favourite on here. If you've not joined us before and we've not done a 5, 4, 3, or you have joined us before and we haven't done a 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, what we're going to do is we're going to give you 2 minutes and we're going to ask you to name 5 of something, 4 of something, 3 of something, 2 of something, and 1 of something. Now, somebody was asking earlier, Ron, I saw in the chat window, are we going to look at practical, ethical, theoretical? Well, there's a little bit in here because that's what our 1 and our 2 are. So, first of all, because we're looking at methods applied to education, I want you to identify 5 issues that might be researched in education. Now, this is a very, very broad question. So, things that sociologists have studied. 4 methods that have been used in the study of education. Again, quite broad. Most of them have been used at one point or another. 3 groups that may be researched, 3 sets of participants, if you like. 2 practical issues that might occur researching in schools. So if you're going to conduct some research in school, what might be a practical issue? And 1 ethical issue with researching inside of a school as well. We'll give you 2 minutes. Just write your answers in the chat window. You might want to put 5 and then some of the issues that are researched and so on. So should we
don't
start
really
the
have
clock?
to do them all. Yeah, you can put
Nope.
them down as you think of them if you put it to the right number. Okay, let's start the clock.
Just to get you thinking.
5, 4, 3.
I hope the answers are going to be right this week,
1.
Lily. I did spend extra time making sure I pressed the right buttons. Anna, you weren't here last week, but I had 4 unforced errors in 1 week, including accidentally hanging up. So any technical issues we've had so far today have been minimal in comparison. But Gary's put in 2, access, time consuming. Yeah, so access to school could be an issue that a researcher would come up with. Time consuming, we might need to develop that if we were writing it in a methods in context answer. Why might time consuming be an issue? That's something we'll look at in a minute.
Yeah, time issues specifically relating to schools or education. Oh, Gabby's
come ethnic minority groups, working class boys, all groups that we would study. We can go even broader than that. There aren't too many wrong answers here. Lily's come up with labelling, setting and streaming, underachieving, for example, Black Caribbean boys, subcultures, something else. There's lots of other things, but those 4 things, yes, they all have been researched in education. Hassan, access to participants, including criminals and children. I'm hoping there aren't too many criminals in schools.
Yeah,
but yeah, access to participants is definitely one. Hassan.
Practical issue. Yeah.
Miranda has come up with boys and underachievement. I'm assuming that's for an issue, or it can also be. Obviously, we can relate it to potential groups that are researched in education as well.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
And that's our second. That's our 2 minutes up. Tahira's just come through with confidentiality. So an ethical issue with research in schools. Yeah. Yes, confidentiality is a good one. Lily's come up with needing consent, another excellent one as well. And obviously, if you're writing in a methods in context question, it's probably not enough just to put, well, one ethical issue is needing consent. What you have to do is be specific about how the method could cause that ethical issue as well, which we'll look at a little bit as we go through this. But let's have a look at 5 issues that might be researched in education. Miranda's come through with overt and covert observation as methods. Yes, you certainly could use those. Particularly overt observations are very commonly used in education these days.
Covert a little more problematic, but there have been some.
There have been some, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so our 5 issues. I've put here material deprivation, cultural backgrounds, labelling, setting and streaming, subcultures. There are so many more that you could go through. One of the things the methods in context question does is it asks you about an issue that you've kind of covered. Usually, I say that because I think last year, some people would have covered higher education, access to higher education in their course, but it's generally an issue that's in education that you'll be asked to talk about the strengths and limitations of a specific method onto a specific issue. And so we'll put some of the issues up here. They will each have their own characteristics, and you need to talk about the characteristics of some of these issues when you're answering your question. Give examples if you want to. That will really help you to kind of develop your answer. So our 4. I've gone with unstructured interviews, observations, questionnaires, and of course field experiments. If anyone can give me an example of a specific study that names any one of those while we're going through them, that would be great. But they are commonly used. these things. Unstructured interviews, really useful for getting the students' participation. Debs has put, is this AQA?
Yes.
This part is definitely sort of like geared towards the 20-mark question that's on AQA, because obviously OCR, when they do their kind of research applied to issues, it tends to be on social inequalities. So this one is kind of really focused on AQA, the 20-mark question that appears on paper 1 of the full A level. So unstructured interviews, really useful for getting student voice, student ideas, student experiences, observations. Obviously, we can see the body language of pupils that are in the class. We can see some of the things that we might not pick up in interviews and other things. Questionnaires, really useful for kind of quantitative data if they're kind of closed. Really useful for being able, particularly if you're using them with parents and who may not be able to come in for interviews and things like that. So it's kind of can help with your things that are time consuming. And field experiments, we can always use, field experiments. There is one really famous example. It's by Rosenthal and Jacobson. Miranda has sort of said anti-school subculture study. Lots of them have been done, and lots of them do tend to use interviews and observation.
I think
Willis
you
is a
might
good
be about
example.
a specific one, which we
Oh,
might
sorry,
have a
I
question
think I've just
about.
given her
Yeah,
one.
we might have a question about later. So we'll
Okay.
we'll hold back on that for now. But,
All right. Yeah.
yeah, but very
Lots
good.
of those have been used. So let's look at three potential groups. I've put these really broad, but there's some really good answers in there. I've put parents, pupils, and teachers. These are generally the three that we talk about. But of course, there are different types of parents, and different types of parents may have different responses to research that is taking place. Likewise, pupils. Pupils may have different responses based upon their social and cultural backgrounds and how they perceive the school, how they view
And
the
gender.
school, their gender as well. And of course, that also then links into some of the issues that we might investigate that are that are seen as being more masculine issues and more feminine issues. And of course, there are lots of issues that are very, gender non-specific. And teachers, of course, teachers will act in different ways when research is taking part, and we'll look at that in a question later on. So let's move on. Lots of people put things like working class boys, middle class boys, working class girls, middle class girls, girls and boys from different ethnic groups. They would all be really useful. Think about what characteristics they have that other groups don't. As people rightly sort of like said, access to the school. Obviously, we often talk about gatekeepers and who controls access for the researcher getting into the school. What I would say with this sometimes is students make a point and they say one ethical issue with unstructured interviews is gaining access to the school because you have to get through a gatekeeper. That is a very valid point, but it's not always, you need to make sure you're linking it to the unstructured interview rather than just making a generic point about it being difficult to gain access. Why might it be difficult to gain access with that specific method? So, for example, you might add on to that, head teachers may not want people observing pupils as they move around the school, or may not want to give access to researchers to go into areas where pupils are, and then you're making it more specific to the method. And research characteristics, of course. Some researchers may be able to sort of like blend in better than others. Some researchers, we may have some differences between the researcher and those people that they are researching. So things like status differences and stuff like that we might put onto there.
Or if we were talking about participant observations, for example, it's unlikely many sociologists would be able to, well, certainly not be covert as a pupil. There might be other roles they could take on in a school environment, but not necessarily be convincing.
And our last one, I think I had as an ethical issue. And I've gone with consent, like lots of people have done. Obviously, consent, talking about DBS checks. Again, make sure you tie it to the method. Why would you need consent for a specific method? Because there are some methods that we might look at, for example, secondary sources, where you might not need the student's consent. If you're looking at, say, for GCSE results, you might not need consent from those pupils because this is publicly available data. So always tie it to the method.
Fab. We've got a 30-second challenge now. Is this you, Anna?
That's me. Yes. Okay. Now I can't remember what's on here. 30 seconds to answer the questions. Here we go. Right. So, as many limitations as you can think of using official statistics to see how successful a school is. So, 30 seconds to
Sorry,
list any.
Started the music.
Time started.
30 seconds, guys. Very quick.
What might be problematic about using the official statistics to find out how successful a school is? What might they not tell us or show us?
Oh, Lily's got one.
Okay, Lily says, may not be accurate because they are outdated. Yeah, so depending on when the statistics were published, they might be. And we've got a nice little concept there, cream skimming, which means that official statistics might not be accurate because the schools might be manipulating them by, for example, having a selective intake and taking the most able pupils in the beginning. Tahira, official statistics aren't representative of all schools. Not all data is logged.
Like off-rolling and that kind of thing.
Yeah, that's good. Anyone got anything else?
I felt like Craig was going to say something.
Yeah, just on that point of cream skimming, this week I was looking at some research that was done by the Sutton Trust where it talked about the impact of academies and how initially when academies, the first kind of wave of academization in 2010, they made comparisons between academy chains on their GCSE results, and they found that some were using vocational qualifications to kind of how can we say, inflate their results, and this is named in the report, and so that's a good example of a limitation where, sort of like Lily's talked about cream skimming, but a very similar concept to this kind of off-rolling or kind of
diverting onto other courses,
filtering onto different courses so that they get higher pass rates.
Okay, so also other things you could say, they're not going to give us a deep understanding, like a Verstehen, like if we're taking an interpretivist kind of view. There might be problems with operationalization. So if you want to see how successful a school is, official statistics, they might not necessarily have been collected to reflect exactly what you want to see as the researcher, or they might not have operationalized the terms in the same way.
What do we mean by success? Is it just
exactly? Yeah. So you would need to know that, and then also just the lack of validity, and that there might be, like for example, with the cream skimming, they might not be completely accurate. So good answers there, guys. Okay, so this one is 30 seconds to come up with all the strengths you can think of using focus groups to research pupils' experiences of bullying.
Well, we got a question from Lily about the last one, I think. What about teachers telling students not to take subjects if they predict lower grades? Yeah, I mean, so again, that would link in, I suppose, with kind of, I mean, there are other reasons why they might do that. It might be, obviously it might be just trying to give the students the best chance to do well. But yes, it could be a way of trying to impact on the
Gabby says, what are focus groups? So focus group interview is a group interview with a small group, usually 6 to 8 people, and they're in the interview together. So questions are thrown out and they discuss the answers amongst themselves as a group. So it's a group interview.
Yeah. Shall we set the clock going?
The clock.
I'm thinking of lots of weaknesses for this one, but there are some strengths as well.
That's why I did it. Okay.
That's a nice response from Lily there. They can build on each other's ideas.
Yeah, and Gabby? feel comfortable surrounded by peers and answer more honestly. Yeah, I think that's true. With a group interview, it's less. You may feel less pressurized, and people might feel comforted by other people that might have had similar experiences.
There was a
Um,
question. There was a question on group interviews a few years ago, and some really good responses that I saw talked about how if you have this kind of group interview situation, it changes the power dynamic between the researcher and the people in the group, so that they're not. It's not one to one, and this means that people can speak in more confidence. And I thought that was those were
Yeah,
really well developed type of points where
yeah.
you talk
That
about
yeah,
power dynamics.
and Lily's point there about feeling less interrogated kind of links to that, doesn't it? That power dynamic.
Yeah, that's a really good point to
yeah.
make when you're talking about group interview, a benefit of the group interviews.
Yeah, we've got some points about the data as well. Tahira has talked about producing qualitative data
Qualitative.
through the discussion.
And Hassan as well. They share the same experience together. Therefore, they may feel more comfortable. They may open up more. You may get greater depth or more accurate data.
Yeah,
Um, so yeah, good answers
yeah,
there, guys.
definitely. There are some definite flip sides to these, aren't they? Because of course we're saying they'll feel more comfortable because they're surrounded by their
Yeah,
peers. But if they're potentially the victims of bullying, they may feel significantly less comfortable to talk openly about
yeah.
it with yeah, which is obviously a risk. But let's have a look
Um,
at the next one. No, same, got similar points, I think. Yeah,
yeah, similar answers. Yeah, well done,
yeah.
guys. Okay, let's go for the next one. So, strengths of using questionnaires to investigate the pressure on pupils to achieve high grades. So, again, 30 seconds.
I'm sorry, I'm a bit trigger happy today.
You are trigger happy. Let's hope that they're ready on the buzzers. That clock is ticking. Okay, we've got a couple of points here about the anonymity. So students may answer more honestly because questionnaires generally tend to be anonymous. Quick to use, cheap, accessible, quantitative data, so we can see cause and effect, or patterns and trends. So, which is a useful thing with questionnaire data. Might be able to identify patterns and trends in terms of ethnicity or social class or gender and the pressure on pupils. So that would be useful. Hassan says quick and cheap to distribute, which means you could potentially cover a larger sample and it's going to be more representative data that you're going to have. Anything else? Anybody?
Yeah,
Yeah, a higher amount of data.
yeah. Again, hopefully,
Okay.
therefore, might be more representative. Obviously, you could get a lot of data and it not be representative. So it depends on your samples and everything, doesn't it? Which is, but yeah,
Yeah,
it's but certainly
it has the
questionnaires are a
potential.
good method to use to get for that sort of generalizable type thing. And maybe this topic is one you'd want to be able to
Yeah,
look for some patterns, look for some generalizable points
trends.
about who's feeling the pressure. Yeah. Should we have a
Um,
look?
yeah,
What you put? Yeah.
yeah, the same things. Yeah, so we can see patterns and trends. It's going to be high in reliability or higher in reliability than some of our qualitative methods, anyhow. And again, yeah, you can potentially use a large sample because it is cheaper and quicker. So you're
Yeah.
going to get more representative data.
I keep thinking about the I don't know why I'm always on the limitations,
You're a
but I
glass
was
half empty guy today,
I
Duncan,
am
aren't
today
you?
or today. I was just thinking with one
I
potential
was a
issue
glass
with
half full girl here.
yeah again all for the strengths. I was
Well, I
thinking one
think the strengths are
potential.
harder.
They are often
The strength,
harder, aren't they?
which is
We
why
often come up with the
which is why
problems.
I
Yeah,
did it because it is the
yeah,
harder thing to do.
yeah. I
Yeah,
think you're right. I was just going to say that one issue potentially with this is operationalizing pressure, isn't it? How do we're wanting to codify the questions in such a way that to measure, how much pressure pupils are under. But that could be quite a hard thing to measure,
yeah,
quite a hard thing to
Yeah,
operationalize.
I think there was a question about this a couple of years ago, and sort of like, and one of those issues was sort of like the subjectivity of what pressure is. because some groups, and particularly when you look at sort of kind of different ethnic groups, some groups feel a lot more pressure from parents than others do.
Yeah.
And therefore, sort of like you can apply it really to the context there, because you can then talk about sort of like the different potential groups that may be more likely to feel pressure.
Yeah, but then what might seem like very high pressure to one person may seem normal to someone else. So it's
Which,
yeah.
but that makes a really good argument. That makes a really good argument that you can use in your essay that is really
Definitely.
applied to the context and is going to get you kind of into the higher mark bands when you do that type of thing.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, handing back to Craig for the connection spinner.
Yeah, and we talked about participants a little bit before. So what we're going to do now is we're going to use our connection spinner in a very different way today. We're going to get it to pick out some potential groups and what issues might you have when researching these groups. Now, we talked before about parents, pupils, and teachers. We may go a little bit more specific here. So let's have a look at our 6 groups. Yeah. Okay. Well, teachers we're stuck with. We're seeing teachers as a homogeneous group. Of course, they're not. But we were seeing them as a homogeneous group here. Minority ethnic students, again, we really should sort of like break that down a little bit further, because obviously there'll be differences there. But just for the purposes of this activity, we've done this. Anti-school subcultures, pro-school subcultures, working class parents, and middle class parents. So let's have a spin and let's see what issues might we have with investigating a specific group. So can we have a spin?
Why is it going to stop?
And there it is, teachers. What issues might we have? And this can be to any research method, right? What do we know about teachers, and what will teachers do when research is taking place? So again, this is just focused on the characteristics of teachers. How might they react to research taking place? Now, this can be an observation, it can be an unstructured interview. It's a very broad question we're looking at here. We're trying to get you to think about the ways in which teachers might react to sociological research.
Might be quite a few issues. So there's how they'd react, or also issues that might impact them as well.
Hawthorne effect, Gabby's come up with. Can we develop that a little bit more? So we know the Hawthorne effect, they'll change the behaviour, but how might they change their behaviour? How will they do it? Miranda's come up with, might feel guilty, so change answers to reflect the aim of the school rather than the truth. That's a good point. Teachers may change their behaviour in observations to seem like a better teacher, so it will be less valid. Excellent. So what we're doing is, can we think of
happen?
Can we? I've been through enough Ofsted inspections in my time to know that these things happen.
There's also from
Chrysalis. Teachers may be fearful of putting their jobs in jeopardy, which is a very good point. Can you think? This is an aside because we're not really. I've not really put the answers in for this. Can you think of some topics that teachers might not tell the truth on, or they might alter their behaviour if they're being observed? Can we think of any topic areas that we've covered? Gabby's put in, behaviour may change to treat each pupil equally and act like they haven't labelled certain pupils. Excellent, because you've brought in an issue there, the issue of labelling. And if that was in the question, that's brilliant. Sort of like the idea that you've linked in the way the teacher's doing it, and they don't want to be observed to be labelling the pupils. Treatment of SEN students, Chrysalis has come up with is it's a good one. It's not one that's on the spec, but it's certainly one that you can develop, I think. Yeah. But if what I would sort of like say is, remember, try and stick to the issue that's in your question. But it's a very good one that they could change. How they treat different ethnic groups, how to treat ethnicities, treatment of pupils. Teachers may not be willing to participate due to high stress and workload. Okay, so kind of again, is kind of reluctance to sort of like take part. And what you've done is you've mentioned a specific characteristic there of teachers, high workload. That's really useful. Instead of saying participants might not want to take part, what you've done is you've focused it on the context and said teachers, because they have a high workload and quite stressed, they may not want to take part in the research. Excellent.
Yeah. There's also sort of, as well, that's a good example of kind of a practical one, also around the time in the day, timetable. Teachers will be stuck to a timetable and might not have time to participate in some research methods, depending on what they are. And we can bring back the old gatekeepers as well, couldn't we? They might not be allowed to participate in the research.
And you would then probably give then you would give a reason why the head
Yes.
teacher might not want them to take part in the research in that specific topic,
Yeah.
and it
Or-
ties it back to the context nicely.
Yeah.
If you say that teachers might not be allowed to take part in the research, it's useful that it's focused on education. But if you say give a reason why they're not being allowed, then
Show the school in a bad
it
light, for
ties,
example. Yeah.
yeah, because labeling is perceived negatively by parents. That then ties it really to the context, and you're getting a far better answer.
Yeah. Similarly, if
there.
you tie it nicely to the method, so say it's
Excellent,
unstructured
yeah.
interviews, it might be, the head teacher wouldn't want the teacher to take part because they'd worry about what might come out in those interviews, because it's it's an open-ended question, discussion, rather than it just being answering questions on a questionnaire, for example.
Yeah, certainly. And also then you could throw in that time thing, because obviously unstructured interviews can be more time consuming. Teachers are very tied for time. So you can develop these points really well by thinking, what issue am I going to have researching? What issue am I going to have researching a teacher on this issue using this specific method? Let's look at our second one. Let's have another spin.
You've got
Let's
a
hope it
couple on
doesn't come up
there:
with
impression
teachers again.
management, subjective
Impression
viewpoints,
management.
career
Where have they
implications.
come through?
They've just appeared
Oh.
now when I clicked on it. Your answers.
Oh, I've not seen them on the screen. Oh, okay. Sorry. What did you say? Impression management is a really
Impression
good,
management,
really good term
yeah.
to use as well. Impression management. Teachers well versed in impression management. It's not coming through on my chat. But,
Has that not come through? All right.
And what was the next one?
Subjective viewpoints and career
Subjective
implications.
Career implications. Excellent. Oh, sorry. I thought you were saying on the chat. I'm looking at the screen.
No.
Yeah, they're the answers I
No,
thought.
they're your
These
answers.
are really
yeah,
good
yeah.
answers.
Yeah, they're really good answers that you came up
These
with.
are really good answers that I answered. There you go. There's my first mistake of today. I thought I was looking at the chat window, so like going, I can't see those answers.
Okay,
right.
Should we spin the wheel again? See if we get a different group.
People come for the sociology, they stay for my errors. That's fine. Let's spin it again. Let's see if we get another group.
I hope we do. It'd be a bit boring if it lands on teachers again, right?
Yeah.
Random
Bit of a
factor.
misunderstanding there, not surprisingly.
Where's it going to land?
It's Thursday. It's near the end of the week.
Oh,
Anti-school subcultures. Now, I've had a couple of people mention some stuff about anti-school subcultures. Can we find any issues that we might have with anti-school subcultures now? Again, with any method.
Yeah. What problems or issues might you encounter if you're trying to do research on this particular group of students? Yeah,
Might not be compliant. Yeah, that's a good one. I mean, it says it in the name of the subculture, isn't it? Anti-school. They're not really going to want to take part in things. May not trust the researcher. Excellent.
Yeah. Why? What is it about these people and the research that they I'm just stretching it slightly further. How might they perceive the researcher?
Yeah. And we can stretch it the other way. We could stretch it the other way with a certain method. What could we do to gain that trust?
Yeah.
So we can stretch it that other way. But what we're doing really well here is we're thinking about the characteristics of that group. May not want to share their thoughts with others. Yeah. May see them as an authority figure. May not tell the truth, as they do not want to sell out their peers. Yeah. Excellent.
All good stuff.
Some really good responses. Lily, focus groups, they may start bigging each other up or trying to act cool instead of being honest in fear of embarrassment. Yeah, I think we're getting this. What we're doing is really well is we're talking about sort of like the characteristics of the group. Stargirl said impacts on validity. Yeah. Excellent.
All of that
Again,
does do that. Yeah.
What you would do there, Stargirl, sort of like you've sort of like said it will impact on the validity. Tell me how, and tell me how sort of like that will do that with an anti-school subculture, which you can link into some of the points that Lily and Hassan and Gabby have made. Yeah. And that's the final point there, is that this impacts on the validity, which means that, this might skew our findings. And what you've done is, between the kind of 4 or 5 of you who've contributed there, you've come up with a really good paragraph. I'm going to show what I've put. I went with status differences, the researcher being a teacher in disguise, group conformity, very similar points to yourselves. If they were doing an unstructured interview one-to-one, these status differences might mean that they either react positively or negatively. Just put Miranda's comment there. No obligation to help the researcher. It doesn't value opinions. It doesn't want extra validation with the subculture. Excellent. That's a really good point that is fixed to the context. Researcher is a teacher in disguise, very similar to the point somebody made about an authority figure. It's just off my screen. And group conformity, I think, is very similar to Lily's point where she talks about focus groups bigging each other up. And also normally pro-school.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, yeah. You would perceive the researcher as being pro-education. Certainly. Definitely would.
Yeah. And another potential issue, of course, is if the kids are really anti-school, they might not be in school, and so accessing the pupils might be problematic if they're if they're not attending, for example.
That does raise an interesting point for methods and context questions. Sometimes students come out and go, "Well, that was such an obvious point that I didn't make it," and you're like, "Yes, some of the points are really obvious." Trying to give a student a questionnaire on truanting, for example, and you might think, "Well, how am I going to do that because they're not there?" That seems like such a simple point. That would be a really good point to make. So sometimes you do get thrown by the kind of sheer simplicity of the situation. But if you think about a very simple explanation, or you see a very obvious explanation, it's been put in there to help you. So use it.
Okay. I think it's still you on this one, Craig. It's the chili quiz.
It is me, yeah. So
I've seen the answer to one of these early doors. Someone answered one of them.
Yeah, it'd be good, wouldn't it? Yes. Right. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you 3 kind of pieces of research. Now, I'm saying this. There's no. If you're writing a methods and context question, do not specifically try and force in a piece of research that does it. No. This is just really we're applying our knowledge of methods to specific studies. So I've tried to use some studies that you will know, and well, some you might not know, some you might find a little bit harder. So the methods used by Willis in Learning to Labour, the method or methods used by Archer et al. When looking at Nike identities. The study was actually called University is Not For Me, I'm a Nike Person. And then the third one, the methods used by Gowitz, Ball and Bow. Apologies to Gowitz if I've put a name wrong, because there seems to be no consensus on how Sharon Gowitz.
I've been trying to spell it the way she does on her journals and books do it. So
I literally searched for it to double check the spelling. After last week's thingies, I went and double checked the spelling, and there was still about 3 different variations.
There are a lot.
This is the one I got.
Yeah.
When looking at school choice. Now, you may remember this one. This is disconnected choosers, local choosers, and semi-skilled choosers. You might know that study from that.
We've got a time.
30 seconds? 30 seconds or 60 seconds on this one? I think it's 30.
Oh, I think it's 30, this music.
Ow. Sorry,
the idea is the mild is easier, the spicy is middle hard, and the hot's really hard, but it obviously just depends. You'll either know, you might know them or you might not. They're all easy if you know them and all hard if you don't.
Oh, they are hard.
Maybe they're all
hard. People are trying to solve it. Oh, some people are coming up. Lily has gone for number 2, focus groups. That was one of the methods. Group interviews was included by Archer et al. They did do thingies. LTL. I'm trying to look at these and go, which one's LTL?
Learning to Labour.
Oh, Learning to Labour. Of course, that makes sense. Interviews, observations, focus groups. You are correct, Miranda. So it makes more sense when you go LTL. I was going, which one of those is LTL? Learning to Labour. It's the end of the week. I'm on holiday on Saturday, so clear the brain. Participant observation again, excellent.
Use that amongst these other things.
Use that. Mm-hmm.
We sometimes describe it as a case study because he used a wide range of methods. Methodological pluralism.
Mm-hmm.
Nice term for a
excellent
Thursday evening, isn't it?
So we've got some of the methods they use by 1 and 2. Anybody has a guess? The methods used by Gowitz, Ball and Bow.
So looking at people making choices about what schools they wanted to go to.
Mm.
And how they went around doing That may or may not help.
Three. Oh. Official statistics questionnaire. Lots of people throwing them up. I would say it's not one you particularly have to know, but they may use it because it gets thrown up, and it's usually because a lot of research actually in education is done using secondary sources, particularly when you're looking at reports. But they did also conduct some interviews as well while they were doing that, and that's one that lots of people may kind of get caught up in and sort of go, oh, I don't. If you get a question on using qualitative secondary sources to investigate parental choice, students might look at that and go, how would they do that? But they were using prospectuses from schools and how the schools were targeting specific sets of individuals. They also looked at interviews, again, sort of like with parents, and tried to ascertain sort of like how the parents made their choice and whether they were informed or not as well. Knowing some research, right? And I'd say don't try and shift this into your essays unless there is a really good opportunity to do so and a specific issue. So for example, if we look at learning to labour as a good example, if you've got a question on anti-school subcultures and using using unstructured interviews or group interviews, one of the things you could talk about is you could mention that point that you mentioned earlier on about anti-school subcultures maybe being resistant. Then you can discuss Willis was able to develop a rapport with the lads in his study because he had things in common with them. And what you're showing there is you're showing a really useful knowledge of sociology and you're applying it to the specific context. But don't feel like you have to force it in. If you know a study that uses that specific method and you know an issue or you know a way in which that sociologists or sociologists solve that problem, then use it if you can.
Yeah, but if it's a study that was actually looking at a different topic, or maybe it was researching that topic, but it was a different study, it's unlikely that you're going to be able to use it well. It's more likely it's going to send you off on a bit of a tangent. So it's just if you happen to. There normally is a piece of research, a reasonably well-known piece of research that use that method to do that study, but it's not necessarily one you'll know. But if you do look at it and think, oh, actually that's like.
That seems like.
Then of course you can talk about it.
Right, sorry to interrupt. I have to dash off very rapidly.
Oh, that's all right.
Yeah. Everything's fine. I've just got to because my wife is sort of like he's doing a training. I've got to go and take my daughter to drama tonight. So I didn't get to mention that before.
No,
thank you for all your responses tonight, and I will see you in 2 weeks' time because I'm not here next week.
Thank you very much, Craig. We've got one more activity after Craig's gone, and it is with.
And it's not mine.
No, it's not. So we said at the beginning that everyone loves a 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and it's a favourite. So much so.
We've got another one.
Got another 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 to finish off with.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So same format, slightly different question. So thinking about the things that we've gone over today, we're going to start with 5 issues around researching pupils. So 5 different things you might need to consider, or researcher might need to consider when they're researching pupils. 4 considerations around doing research in schools. 3 issues around researching teachers and school staff. 2 ethical considerations when researching under 18s. And 1 issue you might encounter when researching parents.
Okay.
So 2 minutes.
Yeah, we're kind of consolidating a bit, really, aren't we? Because we've talked about some of this stuff.
Consolidating a bit, thinking a little bit more specifically about some of the aspects.
Fab.
Let's go.
Okay. Here we go.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
So Lily's mentioned the ability to access parents. Parents might be too busy to be involved in the research, or it might be hard to access the parents.
Yeah, good.
Tahira's talked about ethical considerations. Informed consent might be an issue with the under 18s, because who do you get the consent from? That's something to think about.
Yeah, you might need to think about that.
Yeah, and also the protection from harm.
What might that mean as well in the context of a school setting? Okay, Evelyn, gatekeepers. understand the language of pupils, make sure pupils understand, operate as a concepts, consent of parents, consent of pupils. Yeah,
Yeah.
good.
All good stuff.
Okay, that's a good one from Tahira. Some working class parents may have restricted speech code. They may not understand what's being asked from them. Teachers and school staff, ability to get access, might not want to answer or take part. That's good. Consent of pupils, practical issues around timetables. That's a good one, Chrysalis. Yeah. Confidentiality, duty of care for pupils that are bullied or vulnerable.
Yeah.
Good. And then Gabby's got a quite good specific one there for the parents. Working class parents might work more and be less more unavailable. That could affect the representativeness of the study then, if they can't take part and the middle class
5,
parents can.
4, 3, 2, 1.
Very good.
Okay, it's a
some-
good selection, Duncan, isn't it? Good selection.
Yeah. Some really good responses there. So that was really good. Shall we have a look what you came up with?
What my answers were.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of the same ones, but some other ones as well.
Yeah, similar. Yeah, so that age group particularly may be easily influenced by their peers, may be afraid of getting in trouble, so not want to answer certain questions honestly. Yeah, we had that one. Didn't we? Need consent from parents. Depending on the age of the pupils, they
Yeah.
may have lower literacy levels, so certain methods might not be appropriate for them, like for example questionnaires or interviews. They may see the researcher like a teacher authority figure, which means they may not feel comfortable opening up with them, or may be worried about what they think, kind of thing. That could reduce the validity and
Absolutely.
affect their answers. Doing research in schools. So yeah, I think we had gatekeepers, so we would need gatekeeper approval to get access. I
We
think
did have
someone did
timetables as
mention,
well, didn't we? Yeah. We did.
yeah, restriction of timetables, also term time dates as well. Schools are also noisy, busy environments, so that might mean that information's missed when you're carrying out the research. And people don't act naturally in school due to the rules, so that could apply to the way the teachers behave and
Yeah.
the way the pupils behave.
Absolutely.
And then issues around teachers and school staff. So we had this: teachers are very busy; they might not have time to take part. They might be wary of things getting back to their management. And they're used to putting on a show. So I think Craig talked about this earlier with like Ofsted and things.
Impression management. Yeah, they're
Yeah.
particularly adept. Teachers are particularly adept at it because they get observed a lot.
Yeah.
So it's a skill that you acquire as a teacher. So, yeah. I mean, really,
Okay.
every day, because you're being observed by the pupils, even if there isn't an
Yeah.
external observer. You're always putting on a show. Yeah, as a teacher.
And then, yeah, specific ethical issues for under 18s would need parents' consent as well as the pupils. And the researcher would need a DBS check if they were going to
Yeah.
be in direct contact with the pupils.
Yeah. And that's nice and specific, isn't it? Right? Yeah, to education. Yeah.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
And then last one, we had a few good points for this. I said
Yeah, we
parents
had
are
some
hard
really
to
good ones.
access because they're not all in one place, but we had other equally good points as well for that one. We probably could have made that a 3, but yeah, so we had some good answers there, I think.
Yeah, really, really good. I'm gonna come back. There's no Craig anymore, so we've got a blank space. I was gonna go to the 2-1, and then I thought, well, I bet if I went to the 2-1, Anna wouldn't be there either. So we may as well just have the missing that way missing man.
Yeah.
Okay, that was really good. I enjoyed that a lot. And lots of really good answers. So that's very encouraging. I think students often get a little concerned about methods in context, don't they? And I think what we were doing today is what you have to do. Just always think about, can I make this more in context? Can I link this point more to school, to the actual issue, to the characteristics of the people we're researching, so that it's really in context. It's not just a general strength or limitation of the method. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think they got this well today.
Yeah, very well. I was impressed. Yeah. Well, thank you very
me
much,
too.
Anna. And thanks
Thank
to Craig,
you.
even though you're not there to say thank you to, but I'll say thanks to Craig anyway. And we'll see you next time. I can't remember what we're doing next time, but we've got same place, same time next week for some something new, something different. All right. Okay, guys. Thanks very
Bye,
much.
guys.
Bye.
Bye.